Momentum means mass in motion. I have a little secret that few of you know about me. I'm a semi-professional motocross racer. In racing, momentum can spell the difference between winning and crashing. There's a lot about dirt bike racing that's applicable to our business. I consider our team to be the throttle and our fuel, and at this stage of the race, we were pushing full steam ahead. During these pivotal years between 2013 and 2019, we secured over 100,000 teacher clients, grew our revenue over 10 million, opened countless offices nationwide, and began feasting the fruits of our labor as we displayed on our 100K getaways, President's Circle trips, and incentive adventures.
Back in 2010, I worked for a large IMO that did a lot of similar marketing. They'd go out and they'd reach clients and they'd pre-schedule appointments with their existing agents. A lot of this was done through regular mail system, an old snail mail. And when I left that company, a lot of the agents that were with me left at the same time. I felt like I needed to feed them. I felt like I needed to keep them busy. And so I went to my kid's school. I noticed there were some ways to contact the teachers at the school via email. And so I sent a couple and turned out into some appointments. And the next thing you know, we're scheduling around 5,000 appointments per month. My name is Chris Murphy. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Para. In late 2012, early 2013, Mike Duncan came to me and introduced me to Dom and Terry. They quickly became one of our biggest clients. As a matter of fact, Terry said, there's not an appointment that you can schedule that we're not going to fill. And for the next 6 months, he meant it. Literally, him and Gerardo and Chris Antonopoulos ran all over California on some of the pre-scheduled appointments that I ran. After the partnership was formed, we were internal to AF trying to figure out some personality, figuring out what we were going to do. At the time, we saw there was a conflict of interest, and so we separated Para from AF and as its own entity. And then over the next 2 years, we scheduled over 800,000 appointments. We grew drastically over the next 2 years.
Word on the street was building around Appreciation Financial, and as the industry was taking notice of the newcomer, we were attracting new talent.
So prior to joining Appreciation, I actually had my own agency that was a competitor of AF in the exact same space. We were a 403B agency out of Dallas, Texas, and we worked with National Life Group. We were actually one of their top 3 in the country at the time, and so I started that company in 2008, which was a perfect time to start a financial services company, right at the beginning of a recession. But just like AF, the basis of our company was to protect assets and help teachers with retirement. So it couldn't have actually come at a better time. I went to a roundtable event in Santa Barbara that was being hosted by Mike Duncan with National Life Group. You might be catching a little theme here that all roads lead back to Mike Duncan in some way. And so fate would have it that Terry was there, and I'd always seen and appreciated their leadership from afar, always heard really great things about the company and their team. And so I was excited when I actually got to meet him in person. And so his reputation was exactly who he is.
The addition of industry leaders moved us forward. Later that year, Gerardo opened up our second office in California in San Francisco.
Opening up the San Francisco office for AF is probably one of the most near and dear times in my life, just because it was new, it was exciting, it was a challenge. It was something that I had never thought I'd be able to take on my own. However, somehow was able to do it, and it ended up being a blast. I really enjoyed the experience, and it led to a whole bunch of growth personally, and a lot of great things just ultimately just came out of it. Some of the best times was actually seeing how awkward Terry was in the schools, because even though it was primarily me spearheading the area, one of the cool things was Terry would occasionally fly in for support, which is, I really appreciated, but he was just an awkward, he didn't really fit in particular schools sometimes, but we still had a lot of fun. It really brought Terry and I closer. We would go to concerts, ball games, go to piano bars, things like that. It was just, being there was a really great experience.
Chris Reed joined and recruited hundreds of agents over the years.
I'm Chris Reed. I'm the Chief Recruiting Officer and Managing Vice President of Appreciation Financial. So prior to Appreciation, I'd been in the industry since I was 18 years old. So I kind of joke around about being the only person you'll ever meet who grew up wanting to be an insurance agent. That was just kind of my path. And for 14 of those years, I was the Director of Agency Management as well as an internal wholesaler at another insurance brokerage. And so basically for the better part of 14 years, I was in charge of recruiting agents all across the country, training them, supporting them, finding them different lead programs and niches and opportunities that would fit their skill set to give them the best chance of success.
Because of all of PhD's recruiting and training, we were able to expand coast to coast.
Harry talks about being the chief belief officer, and I really feel like he is, and I've learned that from him. And so I think that is probably one of the most important characteristics to becoming a good recruiter, on top of the fact of you just genuinely want to see people win, and to know that you have that small part in changing a person's life is probably the best feeling on the planet.
Pushing hard for growth, it was time to take note of our wins. We hosted our first incentive trip in Cabo San Lucas. It was awesome. Ask Krista about her wedding ring. You're welcome, Rob. We gave her a taste of the married life before you put a ring on it.
So our very first appreciation financial trip was to Cabo, Mexico. And we had a blast. We were so excited to go. I was actually attending with my soon-to-be husband. We were engaged, and it was a month away from our actual wedding. While we were there, Terry had said he had arranged some events for us, massages, golf for the guys, and we all, just were excited about it. And he said we only had a few minutes to, or we had to sit for a few minutes and listen to a small talk and presentation. When we showed up to that, they were upset that my fiance and I were not actually married. And so he actually pulled out of his pocket wedding rings and had my husband and I put the wedding rings on and say we were married. We did actually get married the next month, but for the trip, we weren't. So we had to pretend like we were married.
Speaking of Krista, she moved to Houston to open our first office in Texas, which would eventually be a powerhouse. As they say, everything is bigger in Texas.
No, I've never been to Texas in my life. I'd only been to Dallas once when I was a teenager, and I had never been to Houston before. So I had no idea really what I was getting into. But I trusted my husband, I trusted his instinct, and of course we trusted our co-founder Dominique Moore, who kept telling us it would be the best opportunity, that the business needed us, and that we could expand and make a huge difference by relocating to Texas. So in October of 2014, we packed up both of our cars with everything that we could cram into a tiny Prius and a tiny two-seater convertible. And we drove across the country and landed in Houston, Texas. There were, of course, some things that I was fearful and nervous about, but it ended up being probably one of the best choices we've ever made. We've been able to recruit amazing people, build a huge office that ended up being the largest producing city and office in the Appreciation Financial Company. And of course, we've been able to create great friendships and long-lasting relationships with all of the amazing people that we've been able to encounter and train and work with throughout the Texas area. Our Powerhouse Houston team produced anywhere between 800 to 1,200 applications per month, and we've been able to do that consistently over time. For a while, we actually had the most six-figure earners in one city. I think we actually still hold that record, and the most six-figure earners on one team.
Looking back now, it's safe to say the momentum in which we've met Matt, Jason, and JB, successful business owners, entrepreneurs in their own right, and even Entrepreneur of the Year with Ernst & Young, we were expanding with purpose. The first time I met Matt is actually a funny story. Rich Smith took me over to his house where I found him about 40 pounds overweight and sitting semi-retired on his couch. I walked in, poked some fun at him, and when he asked me who I was, I told him, I'm the guy you'll get off the couch for or regret staying here and missing the opportunity.
Harry said I might have been 40 pounds overweight. It might have been closer to 30 at the time. He might have been a touch overweight himself. In the last 9 years together, we probably got a little healthier physically and a lot healthier financially together. It's been a great ride. So yeah, in 2015, Terry Kennedy came in my house with one of my former agents that used to work with my company, and they told me about the model of Appreciation Financial, that they have grown over the first several years with the company of being able to go into schools and set pretty much as many appointments as the agent could run. And at the time, that sounded like a fairy tale to me, ability to recruit agents and them have preset appointments. So I kind of didn't believe them, and I flew to California and went to a luncheon with this agent and saw him, being new to the business, set 40-something appointments with teachers at that one location and in a matter of an hour and a half. So I said, this kind of turned a switch in me. I said, if I can't recruit to this and build to this, I don't know if I've ever been able to recruit to anything or just got lucky in the past. So that's when I came out with Appreciation Financial.
With all the new recruits and applications being signed, we were struggling with a big problem. Our applications had low placement rates because of our document collection process was a mess. We needed to update to grow at this pace.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Bonnet. I lead Bombshell Technologies and build back office and all the technology, most of the technology we currently use within Appreciation. Back in the day, after Terry Wynn found Matt on his couch, Matt was my business partner in a previous company, and so he came over and said if he wanted to come on with AF that we needed the systems in place. The issues with .NET were there was no scalability. Everything was done manual, paperwork. Also didn't connect to the carriers, so there wasn't a lot of communication to our carriers, to our agents, things like that. Everything was really spread out. So with back office, we wanted to bring all that together so that we could scale, so that we could bring agent registration into one place, so that we could manage the hierarchy and also the business all in one place.
Reed and JM introduced Angie to Ashley, and at first, Angie actually turned down the job offer. It's safe to say she had a change of heart. Now she's our EVP of operations, and rightfully so.
I will never forget that first phone call with Angie prior to her coming aboard for the new business concierge. We had just started. We were about 4 or 5 months in, and to say that my head was underwater is an understatement. We were working off of spreadsheets. It was crazy and absolute mayhem. And so I needed somebody who was strong, organized, who I knew could work in an agency environment and had a ton of experience. And so I practically begged her to come aboard. The position that she was going to hold was going to play such a key role and the advancement opportunity there for her. And I couldn't be more proud that she's now our Executive Vice President of Operations, and she deserves it, and she holds the company up.
I'm Angie Blattel, the Executive VP of Operations. I was in a transition in my personal life and my career. I had just moved to Vegas for Lev and wasn't sure if I was going to stay in the insurance industry. Rich Smith had originally given me a heads up that he had passed my name on to Ashley, so I was prepared, but not sure again if I wanted to continue with the industry. Ashley offered this job to me, and my first question was, do you guys have a back office or a portal? And she said, no, we're working on that. We have smart sheets right now. And so I told her, I'm not ready to go all the way back. I've worked too hard over the years. Call me back when there's a back office. It was a year later, she called me, and I had some time to think about it. Gave me, some reflection, and really what my why was helping Middle America protect their loved ones. My life has changed immensely. I'm respected now. My voice counts. I'm a woman sitting at a desk with 80% men, and the rest of us women are on the other side counting and being able to move the needle in this company. Well, I didn't know if I was going to cry.
With our back office infrastructure in place, there was only one thing left to do, and that was open more offices across America.
So Florida is a very difficult market because it's what we call a restricted state. So basically you've got zero access. I think my first day, we got pulled out by the cop. It was literally that strict. So you've got to be on special lists of Florida. So the barrier to entry of Florida was very high, and we just didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. And, being one of the first people in Florida, I had to figure it out. I had to call people like Ashley Patterson. I had to call people like Dominique Moore. They had to come and help me figure out the terrain. I had to leverage relationships with the carriers. And most importantly, I had to just get out there and figure it out and create relationships in the school. I went from having a large team of about 100 down to 16 and having to rebuild. My mother's role at the time was really my assistant when she came in to my business, and quite frankly, she became too expensive for me to maintain her lifestyle because she was recently divorced. I would say in phases, I really relied on her to just get the day-to-day administrative tasks done, and then putting her in a position where she needed to rise up to become a better trainer and then a better leader. And now, honestly, she's probably my most trusted business partner. You know, obviously she raised me, instilled morals, values, made me into the man I am today. When it's funny now, looking at, you know, her going through the times in her life where she's maybe not been at her best and claims that I've actually saved her, but she's actually the one that made me.
TPAs were threatening our access to schools, and we met our secret weapon, who actually at the time was our competition. We're talking about Brock McKinley. With Ashley's smooth-talking skills, we forged a strategic alliance with Brock and brought Appreciation and Compass together. Now we had the trio of offerings.
The Encompass partnership brought a whole new suite of products that Appreciation wasn't able to offer before. In the retirement planning space, there's really two sides. There's an insurance side and an investment side. And Encompass brought the investment piece to it for the employees to be able to participate in the market, in mutual funds, in variable annuities, in model portfolios, and be able to have both sides of that. So, you know, Appreciation had the protection piece solved really well, and Encompass brought the growth piece to the table and the market participation.
You've heard all the metaphors that describe what we were busy doing. We were plants growing out of concrete, diamonds created out of rough environments. Many of our agents had no clear direction of how to do what they did. They just made it happen through sheer will and perseverance.
As soon as I saw Terry and met the people and culture, I just knew they were different. And one of the biggest things that I noticed was everybody at Appreciation was focused on creating businesses for themselves, where 95% of this industry is kind of stuck in this self-employed rat race. Appreciation was different in the sense that the way that their model, their business, and everything was designed was to create a business owner out of somebody, and that was very attractive to me.
Like in motocross, you put your foot on the gas to make it over the hills ahead. That's what we were doing. But don't worry, we still took time to celebrate with trips around the world, from Maui to Costa Rica, Jamaica to the Dominican Republic, Mexico more times than we can count, the infamous Catalina trip, and more.
Oh, no. We don't talk about Catalina. A funny moment from one of our trips is the camera still rolling. One time on the trip in Costa Rica, raccoons had broken into the room and gone through the room. Then we finally figured out, we're like, okay, they're gone. Had Terry over, we're sitting on the balcony, and we're sitting there eating burgers and fries, and all of a sudden, a raccoon comes up and starts thumbing through the fries and scared the crap out of both Terry and I. And we were just like, what in the world is going on? And there was a gang of raccoons coming to harass us. And we literally fled the scene. Like I went to his suite. So raccoons in Costa Rica. And guess what? I asked the staff, I said, do you guys have raccoon problems? Raccoons actually bother the people here. They thumb through their fries typically. Is that normal? He's like, I've never seen any raccoons here.
During these years, I was a frequent flyer. As our agents were exploring the world and raking up business, I got started on what I called our awards tour to celebrate what we were being noticed for. It felt good to be on the top. We really deserved it after all the years of hard work and our uphill battles. With our biggest year to date and record-breaking numbers in attendance, we all came together to cheers at our 2020 convention in Vegas. I said 2020, so y'all know what's coming. The convention was called Accelerate Fast. Let's just say the universe bitch slapped us hard. More on that later, as we are at a big turning point. For now, let's get back to business.